Actually, these belong in the trash. The words hung in the air like poison as Marcus reached across the mahogany table, grabbed the brass urn containing their father's ashes, and walked deliberately toward the corner of the funeral home's reception room. The 50 or so mourners fell silent, forks frozen halfway to mouths, champagne glasses suspended in midair. Even the catering staff stopped moving. Lily watched, paralyzed, as her older brother lifted the lid of the industrial waste bin and tilted the urn. The sound of ashes hitting plastic garbage bags mixed with leftover food and paper plates was the only noise in the room. "Marcus, what the hell are you doing?" Lily's voice came out as a whisper, her brain unable to process what her eyes were witnessing. He turned to face her, his expensive suit perfectly tailored, his smile cold and calculated. "Disposing of worthless things. Something I should have done years ago." He dropped the empty urn into the trash bin with a metallic clang. "By the way, everyone should know that dear old Dad left everything to me. The house, the savings, the investments, all of it. Lily gets nothing. My name is Lily Patterson, and I'm 34 years old. 20 minutes ago, I thought I was burying my father with dignity. 20 minutes ago, I believed that 8 years of sacrifice, of giving up my career, my social life, my youth to care for a man who forgot my name meant something. 20 minutes ago, I was naive enough to think family still mattered. I never imagined that the brother who disappeared when Dad's Alzheimer's diagnosis came, who didn't visit once in 8 years, who didn't return a single phone call, would show up at the funeral just to destroy everything." The funeral home director, Mr. Chun, stepped forward nervously. "Sir, I don't think this is appropriate." Perhaps you should mind your own business," Marcus cut him off. "I'm the legal heir. I can do whatever I want with my inheritance, including the ashes." Lily felt her knees weaken. The room started spinning. But something in Marcus's smirk, something in the way he kept glancing at his watch like he had somewhere better to be, triggered a memory. A conversation she'd overheard 6 months ago when she thought Dad was sleeping. She'd been in the kitchen preparing his medication when she heard voices from his bedroom. Marcus had actually visited once, the only time in 8 years, and she'd stood frozen in the hallway listening. "Dad, you need to sign this." "It's for your own good. Lily can't handle your affairs. She's too emotional, too weak. I'll make sure everything is managed properly." At the time, Lily had convinced herself she'd misheard. Dad's dementia was so advanced by then, he couldn't even hold a pen. There was no way Marcus could have gotten him to sign anything legal. Right? But looking at her brother's face now, the confidence radiating from him, at the lawyer standing quietly in the corner of the room with a briefcase, Lily realized she'd been a fool. "When did he change the will?" Her voice was steadier now, louder. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Does it matter? He did. Everything is mine. The house you've been living in rent-free while playing nurse? You've got 30 days to get out. The car? Mine. The bank accounts? Mine. Even that little porcelain dog collection Mom left? Mine." A woman in the front row gasped. It was Mrs. Rodriguez from next door, who'd watched Lily carry groceries inside week after week, who'd seen the ambulance come and go, who'd heard Lily singing to their father through the open windows on summer evenings when his confusion made him cry. "That girl spent 8 years caring for William," Mrs. Rodriguez said, standing up. Her voice shook with anger. 8 years. Where were you?" "Building a successful life," Marcus replied smoothly. "Unlike my sister, who chose to play caretaker instead of getting a real job. That was her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences." Lily's hands clenched into fists. The room was watching her, waiting to see if she would break down, if she would scream, if she would attack her brother. Part of her wanted to do all three. But instead, she thought about the locked desk drawer in Dad's study. The one she'd discovered 3 months ago while organizing his papers. The drawer Marcus didn't know existed because he'd never bothered to spend time in that house. In that study, in their father's actual life, inside that drawer was a fireproof box. And inside that box were documents that Marcus, in his arrogance and his certainty that Lily was just a foolish, emotional little sister, had never imagined existed. Lily took a deep breath and looked her brother directly in the eyes. When she spoke, her voice was calm, almost pleasant. You know what, Marcus? You're right. Dad did make his choice about the will. Marcus's smile widened. Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. I'm being very reasonable. Lily pulled her phone from her purse. In fact, I think we should all be very reasonable about what happens next. The lawyer in the corner shifted his weight uncomfortably. Something in Lily's tone had changed. The defeat Marcus expected wasn't there. Instead, there was something else. Something that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. What are you talking about? Marcus asked, his smile faltering slightly. Oh, you'll see. Lily's fingers moved across her phone screen. We'll all see. Very soon. She looked around the room at the faces of people who'd supported her through the hardest years of her life. Neighbors who'd brought food when she was too exhausted to cook. Friends who'd sat with Dad so she could sleep for a few hours. Her former boss who'd held her position as long as possible before economic reality forced him to fill it. These people knew the truth. They'd witnessed her sacrifice. And they were about to witness something else entirely. Marcus threw the funeral program onto a table. Stop being cryptic. If you have something to say it. Lily slipped her phone back into her purse and smiled. It was the first genuine smile she'd managed in weeks. Not here, not yet. But soon, big brother. Very soon, you're going to understand exactly what kind of choice Dad really made. The room erupted in confused murmurs. Marcus's lawyer leaned over and whispered something in his ear. Marcus's face went pale for just a moment before he recovered his composure. Whatever you think you have, it won't change anything, he said, but his voice lacked the confidence from moments before. We'll see, Lily said quietly. And in that moment, standing in a funeral home where her father's ashes had been thrown in the garbage like trash, where her brother had announced he'd stolen everything she'd worked for, Lily Patterson made a decision. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to let Marcus see her break. Because 8 years of caring for someone with Alzheimer's had taught her patience. 8 years of managing medications, doctor's appointments, insurance claims, and legal paperwork had taught her attention to detail. 8 years of watching her father slowly forget the world had taught her that memory, documentation, and evidence were everything. Marcus thought he'd won. He thought throwing ashes in the trash and waving a will around made him victorious. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly imagine, was that their father had made preparations Marcus never saw coming. Preparations that Lily had discovered and carefully, quietly, methodically documented. The funeral ended in awkward silence. People filed out, many stopping to hug Lily, to whisper words of support, to shoot disgusted looks at Marcus. Mrs. Rodriguez squeezed her hand and said, "Whatever you need, honey. Whatever you need." Marcus left with his lawyer, both of them talking in low, urgent voices. Through the window, Lily watched them get into a Mercedes that probably cost more than she'd earned in the entire 8 years. She'd been caregiving. Mr. Chen approached her hesitantly. "Miss Patterson, about your father's ashes." "I can't believe. I'm so sorry. We can try to." "I mean, it's not possible to retrieve them now, but it's okay," Lily said softly. "Dad's not in those ashes. He's in every moment I spent with him. Marcus can't throw that away, no matter what he does." She walked out of the funeral home into the late afternoon sun. Her car, a beat-up Honda with a dent in the passenger door, sat alone in the parking lot. She got in, closed the door, and for the first time in hours, allowed herself to feel the full weight of what had happened. Her brother had desecrated their father's remains. He'd stolen her inheritance. He'd publicly humiliated her. He'd shown up after 8 years of absence and tried to erase everything she'd done. But as Lily drove toward the house she apparently had 30 days to vacate, she thought about the fireproof box, about the documents inside, about the timestamps, the medical records, the video evidence she'd been collecting for months. She thought about the lawyer she quietly consulted last month, the one who'd looked at everything she'd brought and said, "This changes everything, but you need to wait for the right moment." That moment was coming. And when it did, Marcus was going to learn that underestimating your little sister, especially one who'd spent 8 years developing the patience of a saint and the thoroughness of a forensic accountant, was the biggest mistake of his life. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe. Because what happens next proves that sometimes the quietest people are the ones you should fear the most. The house felt different when Lily walked through the door that evening. The same furniture, the same photographs on the walls, the same faint smell of the lavender air freshener she'd used to mask the clinical scent of medical equipment. But everything had changed. This wasn't her home anymore. According to Marcus, it never had been. She set her purse on the kitchen counter and stared at the empty chair where Dad used to sit for breakfast. For 8 years, she'd pulled that chair out every morning at 7 o'clock sharp. 8 years of scrambled eggs and toast cut into small pieces because he'd forgotten how to chew properly. 8 years of patience when he'd throw the plate on the floor, convinced she was trying to poison him. 8 years of cleaning up, smiling, starting over. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Since you're squatting in my house, the least you can do is not trash the place. I'll be sending someone to appraise the furniture tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be ready. Lily stared at the message, squatting, as if the last 8 years had been a vacation. She thought back to the beginning, to the day everything changed. She'd been 26, working as a junior architect at Morrison & Associates, finally starting to build the career she'd dreamed about since college. Her design for a community center had just been selected for development. Her boss had hinted at a promotion. She'd been dating a guy named Tom who talked about moving in together. Then Mom died. Heart attack, sudden and brutal. And 3 months later, Dad got the diagnosis. Early onset Alzheimer's, aggressive progression. The neurologist had been blunt. He'll need full-time care within a year. You should start looking at facilities. Marcus had been at that appointment. 32 years old, already a successful investment banker in New York, already married to his college girlfriend Christine. He'd sat there in his tailored suit, nodding seriously, asking medical questions that made him sound concerned and informed. After the appointment, they'd gone to a coffee shop. Marcus had ordered an espresso and looked at Lily across the table. We need to be realistic, he'd said. Dad needs professional care. There are excellent facilities that specialize in Alzheimer's patients. He just got diagnosed, Lily had argued. He can still live at home with some help. Some help, Marcus had laughed. Lily, this isn't going to be some help. This is going to be a full-time job. You have your career to think about. I have my career. We can't put our lives on hold, so we just warehouse him somewhere. We make the practical choice. Marcus had leaned forward. Look, I'll handle the financial side. I'll make sure he gets into a good place. You can visit on weekends. We'll both contribute what we can. But Lily had visited one of those good places. She'd seen the residents parked in front of televisions, drooling, ignored. She'd seen the overworked staff, the institutional smell, the absolute absence of anything resembling home or love or dignity. She'd made a different choice. She'd quit her job. Tom had left 3 months later, unable to handle dating someone whose life revolved around doctor's appointments and adult diapers. Her friends had slowly drifted away, tired of canceled plans and conversations that always circled back to caretaker stress. Marcus had been furious. You're throwing your life away, he'd yelled over the phone. This is insane. Put him in a facility like a rational person. He's our father, Lily had said quietly. And you're being a martyr. Don't call me when you realize what a mistake this was. He hadn't called her either. Not for Christmas. Not for Dad's birthday. Not when Dad stopped recognizing faces. Not when he started wandering at night, and Lily had to install locks on the doors to keep him from walking into traffic. Not when he became incontinent and Lily learned more about adult hygiene than she'd ever wanted to know. Marcus sent money sometimes. A check for $500 here, 1,000 there. Always with a note. For Dad's care. Never. How are you doing? Never. Do you need help? Just money, as if that absolved him of everything else. Lily's phone buzzed again. Another text from Marcus. Also, I need you to sign these documents acknowledging you have no claim to the estate. My lawyer will send them tomorrow. Don't make this difficult. She threw the phone onto the couch and walked upstairs to Dad's bedroom. The hospital bed was still there, the one Medicare had provided in the final year. She'd spent countless nights sleeping in the chair next to it, waking up every 2 hours to reposition him to prevent bed sores, to check if he needed changing, to hold his hand when the confusion made him cry out in fear. The room still held traces of him. The biography of Theodore Roosevelt he'd read a dozen times before forgetting how to read. The jazz records he'd loved, though music eventually became just noise to his deteriorating brain. The photographs Lily had hung on the walls, hoping something might trigger a memory, a moment of recognition. In the closet, she found the fireproof box. Her hands shook slightly as she opened it. Inside were documents Marcus didn't know existed. A revised will, dated 6 months before Dad's death, when he'd had one of his increasingly rare lucid periods. Medical records from Dad's psychiatrist, documenting his mental competency on that specific day. A notarized letter in Dad's handwriting, shaky but legible. And video evidence. Hours of it. Lily had started recording their daily life 2 years ago, initially just to track Dad's decline for medical purposes. But those videos had captured something else. Conversations during his lucid moments. His anger about Marcus's absence. His gratitude for Lily's care. His explicit wishes about what should happen to his estate. She pulled out her laptop and opened one of the video files. Dad's face filled the screen. Thin and tired but clear-eyed. This had been recorded 14 months ago, one of his last truly coherent days. "Lily, honey, I need to tell you something." His voice came through the speakers. "I know what Marcus did. I know he tried to get me to sign papers when I wasn't in my right mind, but I didn't sign them. My hand was shaking too much, and he gave up." Lily's throat tightened watching it. She'd seen this video 100 times, but it never got easier. "You've given up everything for me," Dad continued on the screen. "Your job, your future, your life. Marcus hasn't even called in 3 years. When I die, I want you to have the house. I want you to have everything. You earned it, baby girl. Don't let him take it from you." The video ended. Lily closed the laptop and sat in the dim room, surrounded by the remnants of the life she'd built, caring for someone who'd slowly forgotten her name but never forgot. In his lucid moments, how much she'd sacrificed. Her phone rang. Not a text this time, an actual call. "Marcus," she answered. "What? Don't take that tone with me," he snapped. "I'm calling about the appraisal tomorrow. The appraiser needs access to every room. That includes your bedroom. I assume you don't have anything valuable in there, but I need to inventory everything. You're inventorying my personal belongings? Everything in that house is part of the estate. Your clothes, your laptop, whatever you brought with you, that's yours. Everything else is mine to liquidate." Lily felt rage building in her chest, hot and sharp. "Dad's records!" "His medical files. I need those." "Why?" "He's dead." "What do you need medical records for?" "For closure." "For my own peace of mind." Marcus laughed. "Your peace of mind isn't my problem. Those records are part of the estate. They stay with the house until I decide what to do with them." "Marcus, some of those documents are personal, private, and they're mine now. Deal with it." He paused. "You know what your problem is, Lily? You think sacrifice makes you special. You think spending 8 years playing nurse means you deserve something. But all it means is that you were stupid enough to waste the best years of your life on a lost cause." The words hit like a physical blow. "He was our father. He was a sick old man who didn't even remember who you were at the end. You want a medal for that? You want gratitude? Too bad. You made your choice. I made mine. I went out and built a life, made something of myself. You stayed here and played caretaker. Now you get to live with that choice." Lily's hand clenched around the phone. "You're right. I did make a choice. And I'm living with it just fine." "Good. Sign the papers tomorrow, be out in 30 days. And we can both move on." "About those papers," Lily said carefully. "I think I need to have my own lawyer look at them first." Dead silence on the other end. Then, "Your lawyer?" "You don't have a lawyer. You don't have money for a lawyer. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Either way, I'm not signing anything until I understand exactly what I'm signing. There's nothing to understand. Dad left everything to me. That's it. End of story. Is it? Lily kept her voice calm, almost pleasant. Because I'm curious about something. When exactly did Dad sign this, will you keep mentioning? Another pause. Longer this time. That's none of your business. It's absolutely my business. You're asking me to sign away any claim to the estate. I think I have a right to know when the will was executed and under what circumstances. My lawyer has all that information. You'll get copies with the papers tomorrow. I look forward to reading them. Lily stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see Mrs. Rodriguez's house. The lights were on, and through the window, she could see the older woman moving around her kitchen. A witness to everything. One of many. Lily, don't make this ugly, Marcus said, his voice dropping to something almost threatening. You can't win this. You have no money, no lawyer, no case. I have documentation, legal precedent, and resources you can't match. Sign the papers, take whatever personal belongings you want, and walk away. That's the best outcome you're going to get. Maybe you're right, Lily said softly. Or maybe you're about to learn something about underestimating people. She hung up before he could respond. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anticipation. From the knowledge that Marcus, in his arrogance, had made the fatal mistake of assuming his little sister was helpless. Tomorrow, his appraiser would come. Tomorrow, Marcus would send papers to sign. Tomorrow, the next phase of his plan to erase her from their father's legacy would continue. But Lily had her own tomorrow planned. One that involved the lawyer she'd consulted, the one who'd looked at her evidence and said, "This is airtight." But timing is everything. The timing was almost right, just a little longer. Just enough rope for Marcus to hang himself with his own arrogance. Lily opened her laptop again and sent an email to James Chen, the attorney who'd been helping her quietly prepare for months. The subject line was simple. Ready to proceed. His response came back within minutes. I'll file the motion Monday morning. Be prepared. This is going to get ugly. Lily smiled grimly. It was already ugly. Marcus had made sure of that when he threw their father's ashes in the trash. Now it was time to show him that ugly could cut both ways. And the sister he dismissed as weak and emotional had spent 8 years learning patience, documentation, and the fine art of keeping receipts. The appraiser arrived at exactly 10 o'clock the next morning. He was a thin man in his 50s with a clipboard and an air of profound discomfort. Behind him stood Marcus, dressed in what Lily recognized as a $2,000 suit, and his lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Victoria Brennan, who looked like she ate nails for breakfast. This is Howard Klein, Marcus announced, gesturing to the appraiser. He'll be documenting everything of value. I expect your full cooperation. Lily stepped aside to let them enter. She'd spent the morning preparing, making sure certain documents were visible on the kitchen table. Insurance paperwork, medical bills, receipts for 8 years of expenses. All carefully arranged to look random, accidental. Howard Klein moved through the living room, photographing furniture, making notes. Marcus followed him like a shadow, occasionally pointing out items. That's a genuine Tiffany lamp. Dad bought it in 1987, and that desk is mahogany, probably worth $3,000. Victoria Brennan approached Lily with a folder. These are the documents we discussed. Acknowledgement that you have no legal claim to the estate, agreement to vacate within 30 days, and a release of any future litigation. Lily took the folder without opening it. I'll need time to review these with my attorney. Marcus spun around. Your attorney? We talked about this yesterday. You don't need an attorney. This is straightforward. Nevertheless, I won't sign anything without legal counsel reviewing it first. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Miss Patterson, may I ask who's representing you? James Chen from Chen and Associates. The reaction was immediate and satisfying. Victoria's expression shifted from condescension to wariness. Marcus's face went pale. Even Howard Klein paused mid-photograph. James Chen? Victoria repeated. The James Chen who handles estate litigation? That's the one. Marcus recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. That's ridiculous. Chun charges $500 an hour. You can't afford him. Apparently I can. Lily set the folder on the table. He's taken my case pro bono. Something about finding it personally offensive when family members exploit vulnerable elderly people. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. What exactly are you implying? Marcus's voice had gone dangerous and quiet. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Mr. Chun has reviewed my documentation, and he's advised me not to sign any papers until we've had a chance to examine the will you're basing your claims on. Victoria stepped forward. Miss Patterson, I assure you the will is ironclad. Your father executed it properly, with witnesses and— When? Lily interrupted. When exactly did he execute it? Victoria and Marcus exchanged glances. That information will be provided through proper legal channels, Victoria said stiffly. Which means you don't want to tell me. Lily pulled out her phone. That's interesting. Because I have documentation of every single visitor to this house for the past 8 years. Door camera footage, sign-in sheets from home health aides, delivery confirmations. Very thorough documentation. Marcus's jaw clenched. So what? You kept records. Congratulations. That doesn't change anything, doesn't it? Lily pulled up a file on her phone. For example, I have records showing that you visited this house exactly once in 8 years. April 14th, 2 years ago. You were here for approximately 45 minutes. I was busy building a career. Some of us have actual jobs. Some of us were caring for our dying father. Lily's voice remained calm, but Steele had entered it. And that one visit you made? I have video of it. The silence that followed was deafening. Howard Klein had stopped pretending to work and was watching the exchange with obvious fascination. You recorded me? Marcus's face flushed red. That's illegal. You can't record someone without consent. Actually, in this state, only one party needs to consent to recording. And since it was my house, it wasn't your house. It was Dad's house, where I lived as a resident and caretaker, which gave me every legal right to install security cameras for Dad's safety. Lily tilted her head. Would you like to know what those cameras captured during your visit? Victoria put a hand on Marcus's arm. Don't say anything else. Miss Patterson, if you have recordings, they'll need to be authenticated and— Oh, they're authenticated. Time-stamped, stored on secure servers, backed up in multiple locations. Mr. Chun was very impressed with my documentation protocols. Lily turned to Howard Klein. Mr. Klein, I apologize that you've been dragged into a family dispute. Feel free to continue your appraisal. I have nothing to hide. Howard cleared his throat. Actually, I think I need to step outside for a moment. Make some calls to my office. He practically fled the room. Through the window, Lily could see him on his phone, gesturing animatedly. Marcus waited until Howard was out of earshot, then stepped close to Lily. What game are you playing? No game. You claim Dad left everything to you. I'm simply making sure that claim is legitimate. It is legitimate. The will is legal. Then you have nothing to worry about. Lily smiled pleasantly. Unless, of course, there's something about that will you'd rather not have examined too closely. Victoria intervened. Mr. Patterson, I think we should leave and reconvene when everyone has had time to— No. Marcus's voice was sharp. I want to know what she thinks she has. Video evidence of your visit, Lily said calmly. Audio recordings of conversations. Medical records showing Dad's mental state on various dates. Affidavits from neighbors who witnessed his condition. Bank statements showing who paid for his care. Would you like me to continue? Marcus's hands balled into fists. You think you're so smart. You think you've got some case that'll hold up in court. But you're forgetting something crucial. I have the will. I have Dad's signature. I have witnesses. Do you? Lily pulled out a document from the stack on the table. Because I have this. A psychiatric evaluation of Dad dated 3 months before your alleged will signing. It states clearly that he lacked the mental capacity to execute legal documents. It's signed by Dr. Patricia Morrison, the neurologist who treated him for 6 years. Victoria snatched the document, scanning it quickly. Her face went white. That's one evaluation, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. It doesn't mean I have 17 medical evaluations covering the last 4 years of Dad's life. Lily's voice remained steady, all documenting progressive cognitive decline, all raising serious questions about his capacity to execute complex legal documents. He had lucid moments, Marcus protested. He did, and I have video of every single one of them. Lily set her phone on the table. Hours and hours of footage. Want to guess how many of those lucid moments occurred anywhere near the date you claim he signed your will? The front door opened. Mrs. Rodriguez entered, followed by 2 other neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson from across the street. They weren't supposed to be here, but Lily had texted them last night, and they'd come ready to support her. We heard shouting, Mrs. Rodriguez said, looking directly at Marcus. Lily, honey, is everything okay? Everything's fine, Mrs. Rodriguez. Marcus and his lawyer were just leaving. Actually, we're not, Marcus started. Yes, we are. Victoria grabbed her briefcase. Mr. Patterson, we need to discuss this privately, now. Marcus glared at Lily. This isn't over. No, it's not, Lily agreed. It's just beginning. As they headed for the door, Howard Klein re-entered, looking even more uncomfortable. Mr. Patterson, I'm sorry, but my firm can't continue with this appraisal. There appear to be legal complications that need to be resolved before we can. Fine, Marcus stormed past him. Bill me for your time. Victoria followed, already on her phone. Through the door, Lily could hear her saying, we need to review the execution documents immediately. There may be complications. The door slammed. Mrs. Rodriguez immediately pulled Lily into a hug. That man has some nerve showing up here acting like he owns the place. He thinks he does, Lily said quietly. Mr. Patterson, a retired attorney himself, picked up the psychiatric evaluation. This is damning. If your father was evaluated as incompetent this close to the will signing, any probate judge will have serious questions. That's what Mr. Chun said? James Chun is representing you? Mr. Patterson's eyebrows rose. Lily, that man doesn't take pro bono cases unless he's absolutely certain he can win. I know. Mrs. Rodriguez squeezed her hand. What do you need from us, honey? Affidavits. Written statements about what you witnessed over the years. Dad's condition, Marcus's absence, my care. Anything you remember. Consider it done, Mrs. Patterson said firmly. That boy threw your father's ashes in the trash. I'll testify to that in any court. After the neighbors left, Lily sat alone in the quiet house. Her phone buzzed with a text from James Chen. Heard you had visitors. How did it go? She typed back. Brennan knows we have ammunition. Marcus is rattled. Good. Let him sweat. We file Monday. Be ready for pushback. Lily set the phone down and walked to the window. Across the street, she could see Marcus's Mercedes still parked. Him and Victoria inside, having what looked like a heated discussion. Victoria was gesturing sharply, Marcus shaking his head. They were scared. They should be. Lily returned to the fireproof box and pulled out the most important document. The revised will, executed during one of Dad's last truly lucid periods with Dr. Morrison present as a medical witness to his competency. The will that left everything to Lily. The will Marcus didn't know existed. She hadn't shown that card yet. James Chun had advised patience. Let them commit fully to their version of events. Let them file their will, present their case, lock themselves into a position. Then we reveal what we have. The contradictions will destroy their credibility. It was a dangerous game. If Marcus's will somehow held up despite the medical evidence, if a judge sided with him, Lily would lose everything. The house, the possessions, even the chance to preserve Dad's memory with dignity. But she had one advantage Marcus had never understood. 8 years of caring for someone with Alzheimer's taught you patience. It taught you to wait for the right moment. It taught you that the truth, properly documented and presented, was more powerful than arrogance or money or expensive lawyers. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a number she didn't recognize. Miss Patterson? This is Channel 7 News. We heard about an incident at your father's funeral, and we'd like to. Lily hung up. then blocked the number. 2 minutes later, another call. Different area code. Miss Patterson, this is the Herald Tribune. We understand your brother disposed of your father's remains in a trash can, and... She hung up again. The story was spreading. Someone at the funeral had talked to the media. Within hours, it would be everywhere. Marcus throwing ashes in the trash, claiming everything, kicking his caretaker sister out of the house. The court of public opinion was already rendering its verdict. But Lily didn't want public opinion. She wanted legal victory. She wanted Marcus to stand in a courtroom and face the evidence of what he'd done. She wanted a judge to look at 8 years of documented care versus 8 years of documented absence and make the obvious conclusion. She wanted justice, not revenge. Though increasingly, she was realizing those two things might look very similar when this was over. Outside, Marcus's Mercedes pulled away, tires screeching slightly. Lily watched it disappear around the corner and allowed herself a small smile. Let him run. Let him consult his lawyers, review his documents, try to find holes in her case. He wouldn't find any. Because Lily had spent 8 years learning that when you care for someone with a deteriorating memory, documentation isn't optional. It's survival. And now that documentation was about to become Marcus's nightmare. The courtroom was smaller than Lily had imagined. Oak paneling, fluorescent lights, rows of benches half filled with people who had nothing better to do on a Tuesday morning than watch family drama unfold. But the 3 reporters in the back row changed everything. This wasn't just a private dispute anymore. This was news. Judge Margaret Holland presided. A woman in her 60s with silver hair and the expression of someone who'd seen every type of family betrayal imaginable. She looked over her reading glasses at both parties. This is a petition to contest the will of William Patterson, deceased. Mr. Marcus Patterson is the named executor claiming sole inheritance. Miss Lily Patterson is contesting based on allegations of undue influence and questions of testamentary capacity. Judge Holland glanced at the file in front of her. This should be interesting. They should be interested. Confident in a navy suit that probably cost more than Lily's car. Your Honor, this is a straightforward matter. William Patterson executed a clear legal will leaving his entire estate to his son Marcus. The will was properly witnessed, notarized, and filed. Miss Patterson's contest is nothing more than buyer's remorse for choices she made voluntarily. James Chen rose slowly. He was shorter than Victoria, older, with gray streaks in his black hair and a rumpled suit that looked slept in. But when he spoke, the entire room leaned forward. Your Honor, what we have here is not a straightforward matter. What we have is a vulnerable elderly man with advanced Alzheimer's, a son who disappeared for 8 years, and a will that was allegedly executed during a period when medical records clearly indicate the deceased lacked capacity to understand what he was signing. We have medical testimony stating he was competent, Victoria countered. From a doctor who saw him once, for 15 minutes, the same day the will was signed. James pulled out a document. I have 17 medical evaluations from his actual treating physicians spanning 4 years. All tell a very different story. Judge Holland held up her hand. I'll hear evidence from both sides. Miss Brennan, present your case. Victoria called Marcus to the stand. He walked up confidently, placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Lily watched his performance, the concerned son routine, and felt sick. Mr. Patterson, can you describe your relationship with your father? We were close, Marcus said smoothly. I visited when I could. Given my work obligations in New York, I made sure he had the best care possible. And the will in question, when was it executed? April 14th, 2 years ago. I visited specifically to help Dad organize his affairs. He was lucid that day, clear about his wishes. He wanted to leave everything to me. Did he say why? Marcus paused for effect. He said that I had built a successful life, that I would manage his legacy responsibly. He loved my sister, but he worried she'd made poor decisions giving up her career. He wanted the estate in stable hands. Lily's fingernails dug into her palms. The lies flowed so easily. Victoria smiled. Thank you. No further questions. James stood. He didn't approach the stand immediately. Instead, He pulled out a remote control and nodded to his assistant, who set up a laptop connected to the courtroom's display screen. Mr. Patterson, you testified you visited your father on April 14th 2 years ago to help him organize his affairs. Is that correct? Yes. And you stated this was one of several visits during his illness? Marcus shifted slightly. I visited when I could. When you could. James clicked the remote. The screen lit up with a spreadsheet. This is a visitor log maintained by Miss Patterson, documenting every person who entered the house during the 8 years she cared for your father. Home health aides, doctors, therapists, friends, neighbors. Your name appears exactly once. April 14th 2 years ago. 43 minutes. Marcus's jaw tightened. I may not have signed in every time. The house had security cameras installed for your father's safety. They logged every entry and exit. James clicked again. Camera footage appeared, grainy but clear, showing the front door. This is 8 years of footage. Would you like to count how many times you appear? Victoria stood. Objection. This is harassment. My client's visitation frequency doesn't invalidate the will. It speaks to credibility, Your Honor, James said calmly. Mr. Patterson claims a close relationship. The evidence shows profound neglect. I'll allow it, Judge Holland said. But get to your point, Mr. Chen. Mr. Patterson, let's watch what happened during your one visit. James clicked the remote. The screen filled with interior footage. A living room. Their father sitting in his chair, thin and confused, wearing pajamas at 2 in the afternoon. Marcus entering, looking impatient. No hug, no greeting, just Marcus pulling papers from a briefcase. The courtroom audio played. Marcus's voice. Dad, you need to sign these. It's important. William's confused response. Sign what? Who are you? I'm Marcus. Your son, just sign here. I don't understand. Where's Lily? Lily's not important right now. Sign the papers, Dad. The footage showed Marcus trying to put a pen in William's shaking hand. William dropped it. Marcus picked it up. Tried again. William's hand trembled so badly he couldn't form letters. This is useless, Marcus's voice on the recording. You can't even hold a pen. He'd left angry, papers unsigned. The footage had a timestamp. April 14th, 2:17 p.m. The courtroom was silent. Marcus had gone pale. That's the visit where you claim he executed a will? James's voice was soft but deadly. A man who couldn't hold a pen, who didn't recognize his own son. That wasn't the entire visit, Marcus stammered. He had lucid moments later. The will was signed during a lucid moment. Was it? James produced another document. Because according to the notary whose signature appears on your will, she arrived at 2:30 p.m. that same day. 13 minutes after this footage shows you leaving, frustrated that your father couldn't sign anything. Victoria was on her feet. Your Honor, this is... Sit down, Ms. Brennan. Judge Holland's voice was ice. Mr. Chen, are you suggesting the will is fraudulent? I'm suggesting it's highly questionable. James turned to Marcus. Mr. Patterson, did you forge your father's signature? No. The notary witnessed him sign. She testified she saw a signature. But did she verify the person signing understood what they were signing? Did she assess cognitive capacity? Or did she simply notarize whatever you put in front of her? Marcus's hands gripped the witness stand. I did nothing illegal. Perhaps not technically illegal, but morally? Ethically? James clicked the remote again. Let me show you what happened 6 months later. New footage appeared. Same living room, different day. William was sitting with Lily, both looking at documents. But William's eyes were clear, focused. His hands were steady as he held a pen. The audio played. William's voice, weak but determined. I need to make this right, Lily. I know what Marcus tried to do, but I didn't sign those papers. I couldn't. My hands wouldn't work that day. It's okay, Dad. We'll figure it out. No, listen to me. While I still can. William looked directly at the camera, as if he knew this moment would matter. I want everything to go to Lily. The house, the savings, everything. She earned it. She gave up her whole life for me. Marcus hasn't called in 3 years. He doesn't deserve anything. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Holland banged her gavel. James continued. This footage is from October 3rd, 18 months ago. Dr. Patricia Morrison was present. She evaluated your father that day and certified he had testamentary capacity. He executed a new will leaving everything to Lily. Marcus lunged forward in the witness box. That's fake. She manipulated him. The footage has been authenticated by 2 independent experts. The will was executed with proper medical supervision. Dr. Morrison is here today to testify. James turned to the judge. Your Honor, we have a clear timeline. Marcus attempted to coerce a signature from an incapacitated man, failed, but somehow produced a will anyway. 6 months later, during a documented lucid period, William Patterson executed a proper will leaving everything to the daughter who actually cared for him. Victoria was scrambling through papers, her confidence shattered. Your Honor, we were not informed of a second will. Because it was kept in a fireproof safe box, as any prudent person would do. James pulled out one more document. And here's where it gets truly disturbing. Mr. Patterson, you threw your father's ashes in a trash can at his funeral, correct? That was. I was upset, emotional, upset enough to commit what many would consider desecration of human remains. Upset enough to announce to 50 witnesses that you'd inherited everything and your sister had 30 days to vacate? James's voice hardened. Or was it arrogance? The certainty that you'd gotten away with manipulating a dying man? Marcus said nothing. His hands were shaking. If you're watching this and thinking about how easily family can betray family, hit subscribe. Because what happened next proved that sometimes the people you underestimate are the ones who end up writing the ending. Judge Holland removed her glasses. Mr. Patterson, step down. Miss Brennan, does your client wish to present any evidence that contradicts what we've just seen? Victoria looked defeated. Your Honor, we request a continuance to review. Request denied. Based on the evidence presented, I have serious doubts about the validity of the will submitted by Marcus Patterson. The medical records, the video evidence, and the timeline all suggest William Patterson lacked capacity when the disputed will was allegedly executed. She looked at Lily. Miss Patterson, I'm issuing a temporary injunction. The house and all assets remain frozen pending full hearing in 30 days. Mr. Marcus Patterson, you are not to remove, sell, or dispose of any estate property. Do you understand? Marcus nodded mutely. Furthermore, Judge Holland continued, I'm ordering an investigation into the circumstances of the will's execution. If fraud is found, there will be criminal consequences. The reporters in the back were typing frantically on their phones. This was bigger than a family dispute now. This was fraud, elder abuse, exploitation. As the judge dismissed court, Marcus stumbled past Lily without looking at her. Victoria followed, already on her phone, probably calling her malpractice insurance. James put a hand on Lily's shoulder. That went well. Lily watched her brother disappear through the courtroom doors. His confident stride gone, replaced by the uncertain shuffle of someone whose world had just collapsed. Outside, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. Microphones appeared. Miss Patterson, how does it feel to expose your brother's fraud? Will you press criminal charges? Do you have a message for people caring for elderly parents? James guided her through the crowd, but Lily stopped at the courthouse steps. She looked directly at the nearest camera. My message is simple. My father was a good man who deserved dignity in his final years. He got that dignity because I chose love over convenience. My brother chose convenience over love. The courts will sort out the legal details. But the moral verdict is already clear. She walked to her car, leaving the reporters calling questions behind her. Her phone was already blowing up. Text messages from neighbors, from former coworkers, from people she hadn't heard from in years. All saying the same thing. She'd done the right thing. But one message stood out. From a number in New York. Christine, Marcus's wife. I'm filing for divorce. He lied to me about everything. I'm sorry for what he put you through. Lily stared at the message. Marcus wasn't just losing the estate. He was losing everything. And somewhere she knew he was finally understanding what 8 years of sacrifice actually meant.